Uvacha iti Bruvanam Samstuyah. After speaking like this, congratulating the Munis, Muninam Dirgha Satrinam, who have been waiting for a long time, Satrinam, and they were performing sacrifices. Vrittaha Kulapatihi Sutam. Now, Shaunaka Muni, he is the elderly person. What he did, he is a leader. Bahu Rishaha Shaunakaha. His name is Shaunaka. He is an elderly person. So he addressed. Generally, it is said, the elderly person, they invite the speaker, they ask questions on behalf of others. And they congratulate the speaker also. In our temple, this pratha is there in ISKCON. If you see, the elderly person will congratulate the speaker, will glorify the bhaktas, and glorify the speaker. Shaunaka Muni, who was elderly learned leader of all the rishis, engaged in that prolonged sacrificial ceremony, congratulated Suta Goswami by addressing him as follows. Okay. Gajendra Sutta Prabhu, read.
Vyasuvacha iti Bhuvanam samstuya muninam dirgha satrinam vridha kulapati sutam bahuvracha sonakha bhavit. Translation. Actually, on hearing Sutta Goswami, thus Saunaka Muni, who was the elderly learned leader of all the rishis, engaged in that prolonged sacrificial ceremony, congratulated Sutta Goswami by addressing him as follows. Purport. In a meeting of learned men, when there are congregational or addresses for the speaker, the qualification of the congratulator should be as follows. He must be the leader of the house and an elderly man. He must be vastly learned also. She Shaunak Rishi had also had all these qualifications, and thus he stood up to congratulate Sri Sutta Goswami when he expressed his desire to present Srimad Bhagavatam exactly as he heard it from Sukadeva Goswami, and I also realized this personally. Personal realization does not mean that one should, out of vanity, attempt to show one's own learning by trying to surpass the previous Acharya. He must have full confidence in the previous Acharya, and at the same time, he must realize the subject matter so nicely that he can present the matter for the particular circumstance in a suitable manner. The original purpose of the text must be maintained. No obscure meaning should be screwed out of it. Yet, it should be presented in an interesting manner for the understanding of the audience. This is called realization. The leader of the assembly, Saunaka, could estimate the value of the speaker. Sri Sutta Goswami simply by his uttering yadha and yadha mati, and therefore he was very glad to congregate him in ecstasy. No learned man should be willing to hear a person who does not represent the original Acharya. So the speaker and the audience were bona fide meeting where Bhagavatam was being recited for the second time. That should be the standard of recitation of Bhagavatam, so that the real purpose can be served without difficulty. Unless this situation is created, Bhagavatam recitation for extraneous purpose is useless labor both for the speaker and for the audience. Hare.
Shri Saunaka Uvacha Suta Mahabhaga Vadano Vadatamvara Katam Bhagavatim Punyam Yadaha Bhagavan Shukaha. Shaunaka Uvacha Sutta Mahabhaga. O Sutta Goswami, you are the most fortunate. See the way glorification of Sutta Goswami is done by Shaunak Rishi. You are the most fortunate. Avadanaha Vadatam. Kindly speak to us. Vadatam Vara Katham. So you speak to us that important message of Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavatim Punyam. It is so pious to hear. And Yad Aha Bhagavan Shukaha. So in this way, whatever you have heard or whatever was spoken by the powerful sage Sukadeva Goswami, that same message, please give it to us. Before that, what was told? I will speak, yes, yadaditam yathamati. Whatever I have heard, I'll speak. Whatever I have heard and I have realized, not just whatever I have heard, whatever I could catch hold of, whatever I could realize, I will pass it on to you. So then, congratulating the Rishi Sutta Goswami, Shonak Rishi says, you are Mahabhaga. You are very fortunate. Please recite. Okay. Adi Satviki Mataji read.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam. So, Slok 2, Saunaka Ubacha, Sutta Mahabhaga, Badano Badatang Bara, Kathang Bhagavating Punyang, Yadaha Bhagavan Chukaha. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Saunaka said, O Sutta Goswami, you are the most fortunate and respected of all those who can speak and recite. Please relate the pious message of Srimad Bhagavatam, which was spoken by the great and powerful sage Sukadeva Goswami. Purport. Sutta Goswami is twice addressed herein by Saunaka Goswami out of great joy, because he and the members of the assembly were eager to hear the text of Bhagavatam uttered by Sukadeva Goswami. They were not interested in hearing it from a bogus person who would interpret in his own way to suit his own purpose. Generally, the so-called Bhagavatam reciters are either professional readers or so-called learned impersonalists who cannot enter into the transcendental personalities of
Your voice is breaking, Mataji.
Oh, sorry. Such impersonalists twist some meanings. Is that okay, Mataji? Can you hear? Yeah. Meanings out of Bhagavatam to suit and support impersonalist views. And the professional readers at once go to 10th Canto to explain the most confidential part of the Lord's pastimes. Neither of those reciters are bona fide persons to recite Bhagavatam. Only one who is prepared to present Bhagavatam in the light of Sukadeva Goswami, and only those who are prepared to hear Sukadeva Goswami and his representative are bona fide participants in the transcendental discussion of Srimad Bhagavatam. Thank you, Mataji, for the. Thank you.
So about the impersonalists has been spoken. There are so many professional reciters of Bhagavatam. They'll speak, make a drama, make a show off, but there will be no transformation in the hearts of the people. It's only because they are not taking the essence of Bhagavatam. They are just making money out of Bhagavatam. They are taking this Bhagavatam as a means to satisfy their material desires. That is why such type of professional reciters will never give transformation in the hearts of the people. Prabhupada is very clear about it. Just on second canto also, the same topic was going on. Kasmin yuge pravutteyam sthane vakena hetuna kutaha sanchoditah krishnaha krutavan samhitam muni. Kasmin yuge pravutteyam sthane vakena hetuna kutaha sanchoditah krishnaha krutavan samhitam muni. So the question is asked now, Kasmin yuge, In which period? Ruptaha, this began. Sthaneva, in which place? Kena hetunaha. And hetuna, why it was taken up? Kutaha sanchoditaha, who inspired? Krishna, Krishnaha Kritavan Samhitam Munihi, who inspired Vedavyasa to compile this wonderful Vedic literature. Because it was spoken to by Sukadeva Goswami to Parikshit Maharaj, but who inspired Vedavyasa to write Bhagavatam? When it took place, which place, why it was taken up. So here, compilation of Srimad Bhagavatam, these 2 chapters speaks on that, how Vedavyasa, why he took it up, and when he compiled, which place he compiled, and what was the purpose, and which period it was. Okay, Vimla Mataji, read.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Text 3. Kasmin yuge pravarteyam sthaneva kena hetuna utah sanchodita Krishna kritvan sanktam muni. Translation. In what period and at what place was this first begun, and why was this taken up? From where did Krishna Dvaipayan Vyas, the great sage, get the inspiration to compile this literature? Purport. Because Srimad Bhagavatam is the special contribution of Sri Vyasadeva, there are so many inquiries by the learned Shaunak Muni. It was known to them that Srila Vyasadeva had already explained the text of the Vedas in various ways up to the Mahabharata for the understanding of less intelligent women, Shudras, and fallen members of the family of twice-born men. Srimad Bhagavatam is transcendental to all of them because it has nothing to do with anything mundane. So the inquiries are very intelligent and relevant. Hare Krishna.
Next. Drishtvanuyantam Rushim Atmajam Apiyam Ananglanam Devyorya Paridadur Nasutasya Chitram
Mataji, Hare
Tadrishya
Krishna. Text 4
Mataji,
you have
text
skipped.
number 4.
Yeah, that's 4. Tanyaputro Mahayogi Samadrun Nirvikalpakaha Ekantamatiir Nidro Gudho Mudha Iveyate. Tasya Putro Mahayogi Putraha. The son of Vedavyasa is a great devotee. That is, Sukadeva Goswami is a great devotee, Mahayogi. Samadran Nirvikalpakaha. Samadrik means equibalanced. Samadrishti, Samadrik. Nirvikalpakaha is an absolute monist. Ekantaha matihi. He is fixed up in monism or oneness of mind. Unnidraha. He has surpassed in science. Gudaha, Mudaha, Iva, Iyate. Gudaha is not much exposed. He remains Mudha, seems to be an ignorant person, Mudha. So he is a great devotee. He is transcendental to all the mundane activities. He is always concentrated in monism. Here monism refers to oneness of the mind. So then he appears to be a fool or an ignorant person. He is not very much exposed. So in this way, glorification of Vyasa's son is going on. Sukadeva Goswami. Okay, Vandana, read.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Danvat Pranam. Tasya putro mahayogi samadrish nirvikalpakaha ekantmatir unitro gudho mudha iveyate. Translation. His Vyasadev's son was a great devotee, an equibalanced monist, whose mind was always concentrated in monism. He was transcendental to mundane activities, but being unexposed, he appeared like an ignorant person. Purport. Srila Sukdev Goswami was liberated soul, and thus he remained always alert, not to be trapped by the illusory energy. In the Bhagavad Gita, this alertness is very lucidly explained. The liberated soul and the conditioned soul have different engagements. The liberated soul is always engaged in the progressive path of spiritual attainment, which is something like a dream for the conditioned soul. The conditioned soul cannot imagine the actual engagements of the liberated soul. While the conditioned souls thus dream about spiritual engagements, the liberated soul is awake. Similarly, the engagement of a conditioned soul appears to be a dream for the liberated soul. A conditioned soul and a liberated soul may apparently be on the same platform, but factually they are very differently engaged, and their attention is always alert, either in sense enjoyment or in self-realization. The conditioned soul is absorbed in matter, whereas the liberated soul is completely indifferent to the matter. This indifference is explained as follows. Hare Krishna.
दृष्ट्वानुयान्तं ऋषि आत्मजमप्यनङ्ग्नं देव्यो धिया परिदधुर्न सुतस्य चित्रं तद्वीक्ष्य पृच्छति मुनौ जगदुस्तवास्ति स्त्रीपुंभिधान तु सुतस्य विविक्तदृष्टे दृष्ट्वानुयान्तं ऋषिमात्मजमप्यनङ्ग्नं देव्यो धिया परिदधुर्नसुतस्य चित्रं तद्वीक्ष्य पृच्छति मुनौ जगदुस्तवास्ति स्त्रीपुंभिधानतु सुतस्य विविक्तदृष्टे. सुदृष्ट्वा अनुयान्तं ऋषिम् आत्मजम्, seeing the sage's son, apyanagnam, seeing the sage and seeing the son. Now, what happened? Now, from Vyasa's wife, that is Javali, a child is born. After many times, Vyasa requesting, come out, come out. 16 years, Sukadeva Goswami is in the womb of Javali. After multiple requests, Vyasa comes out of the womb and just runs. When he runs, he is naked. But his father is not naked. And this boy is now 16 years boy, not a small child, 16 years boy, youth. Devyaha, beautiful damsels. Riya, Paridadhu. When they saw his father, they covered the body. Nasutasya chitram. But when they saw their son, his son, they did not cover the body. Now the question is, Pruchati munau jagado tava astihi stri putram. So the question was asked by the sage. Why is it that seeing me, I am an old man, you covered the body. When you are seeing in youth, you are not covering the body. Then the answer was, Sti putram bhida. You know the difference between a woman and a man, a female and a male. But your son is very much pure. That is why he doesn't have any difference. Like a small child is there. The woman can understand that there is a purity in the child. A mother can understand there is a purity in the child. So she doesn't mind to remain naked also. She can change the dress before the child, small child, because she knows this child is very pure. There is no difference between man and woman. So in woman has this sense, which man has this difference, immediately she shies. She covers the body. And there is a child, the damsels were taking bath. So they did not mind to cover the body because the child is very pure. Though he is 16 years boy, he had no difference between male and female. It's the very purest. So that has been given. But the sage made such distinctions between male and female. That is why they had to cover the body. Okay. Narayana, read.
दृष्ट्वानुयान्तं ऋषिमात्मजमप्यनग्नं देव्यो ह्रिया परिदधुर्न सुतस्य चित्रम् तद्वीक्ष्य पृच्छति मुनौ जगदुस्तवास्ति स्त्रियः स्त्री पुंभिदा न तु सुतस्य विविक्तदृष्टेः. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Translation. While Sri Vyasadeva was following his son, beautiful young damsels who were bathing naked covered their bodies with cloth. Although Sri Vyasadeva himself was not naked, but they had not done so when his son had passed. The sage inquired about this, and the young ladies replied that his son was purified, and when looking at them made no distinction between male and female. But the sage made such distinctions. Purport. In the Bhagavad Gita 5.18, it is said that a learned sage looks equally on a learned and gentle Brahmana, a Chandala, dog eater, a dog, or a cow due to his spiritual vision. Srila Sukadeva Goswami attained that stage. Thus, he did not see a male or female. He saw all living entities in different dress. The ladies who were bathing could understand the mind of a man simply by studying his demeanor, just as by looking at a child, one can understand how innocent he is. Shukadev Goswami was a young boy, 16 years old, and therefore all the parts of his body were developed. He was naked also, and so were the ladies. But because Shukadev Goswami was transcendental to sex relations, he appeared very innocent. The ladies, by their special qualifications, could sense this at once, and therefore they were not very concerned about him. But when his father passed, the ladies quickly dressed. The ladies were exactly like his children or grandchildren, yet they reacted to the presence of Vyasadeva according to the social custom because Srila Vyasadeva played the part of a householder. A householder has to distinguish between a male and a female, otherwise he cannot be a householder. One should therefore attempt to know the distinction between the body and the soul without any attachment for male and female. As long as such distinction is there, one should not try to become a sannyasi like Shukadev Goswami. At least theoretically, one must be convinced that a living entity is neither male nor female. The outward dress is made of matter by material nature to attract the opposite sex and thus keep one entangled in material existence. A liberated soul is above this perverted distinction. He does not distinguish between one living being and another. For him, they are all the same, and they are all one and the same spirit. The perfection of this spiritual vision is the liberated stage, and Srila Sukadeva Goswami attained that stage. Srila Vyasadeva was also in the transcendental stage, but because he was in the householder's life, he did not pretend to be a liberated soul as a matter of custom. Hare Krishna.
Next. Kathamalakshitah paurahi samprapta kurutangalan unmattamo kajadavad vicharan gajasang sahave katham alakshitah paurai sampraptah kurujangalan unmattamuka jadavad vicharan gajasahavai katham alakshitah paurai. How was he recognized? Alakshitah paurai by the citizens. These are the questions now are asked. How was he recognized? Sampraptaha Kurujangalan. When he reached the Kurujangala province, how was he recognized? Because he was appearing to be mad. Munmattaha Muka Jadavan. Mad, dumb, stunted. Vicharan, Gaja, Sahavai. In Hastinapur, he was just wandering like a madman, appeared to be dumped and stunted. So how was he recognized? By the citizens. Okay. Ram Kirti Prabhu, read.
Hare Krishna, Dandavatsranam. Katam alakshitaha pauri samprapta kuru jangalan unmatta muga jadavat vijaran gaja sahvaye. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhakti Swami Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Translation. How was he, Srila Sukadeva, the son of Vyasa, recognized by the citizens when he entered the city of Hastinapur, now Delhi, after wandering in the provinces of Kuru and Jangala, appearing like a madman, dumb and retarded? Purport. The present city of Delhi was formerly known as Hastinapur because it was first established by King Hasti. Goswami Sukhdev, after leaving his paternal home, was roaming like a madman, and therefore it was very difficult for the citizens to recognize him in his exalted position. A sage is not therefore recognized by sight but by hearing. One should approach a sadhu or great sage not to see but to hear him. If one is not prepared to hear the words of a sadhu, there is no profit. Sukhdev Goswami was a sadhu who could speak on the transcendental activities of the Lord. He did not satisfy the whims of ordinary citizens. He was recognized when he spoke on the subject of Bhagavatam, and he never attempted jugglery like a magician. Outwardly, he appeared to be a retarded, dumb madman, but in fact, he was the most elevated, transcendental personality. Hare Krishna. Dandavatsranam.
So, one very powerful statement Prabhupada says, one should approach a sadhu not to see but to hear him. It's not just external appearance. The sadhu's qualities which has been given by Kapil Muni to Devahuti, and how nicely he transforms people because of his purity. That has to be heard. A person goes to sadhu to hear the knowledge, not to just see his external appearance. So here also external appearance has been spoken. He appears to be like a madman, stunted person. But then how he was recognized, it's going to come. Katham va pandave yasya rajarsher munina saha samvada samabhutat bhuttat yatresha satvati shrutihi katham va pandave yasya rajarsher munina saha samvadah samabhutat yatraisha satvati shruti. So katham, how this was arranged? What was arranged? Pandaveyasya, the descendant of Pandu, that is Parikshit Maharaj, the king Parikshit Rajarshe. He is also Muni, he is also a sage. Rajarishi, Munina, how did he meet? Asaha Samvataha. When this discussion took place, how did they meet and how the discussion took place? O Suta, O Tata. Now here, O Tata has been spoken. O Tata means, oh my dear. Now Shaunakadi Rishis, they are all very elderly people. So when they are addressing to Suta Goswami, who is very young boy, they say, oh my darling, oh Tata, please tell when this happened. Yatra eshaha satvati shrutihi. When this essence of the scriptures, this transcendental knowledge, how this conversation took place, or how this transcendental knowledge was given. Okay, Neeraj Prabhu, please read. Your voice is not heard, Prabhu.
Could
Okay,
I
someone else. Read.
Cole, can you hear me? Am I audible, Mataji?
Your voice is breaking. Voice is breaking. Wait.
Hare
Kamalakshi Mataji, you read.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam Mataji. Text 7. Kadam va Pandave yashya rajarshi munina saha samvada samaputtada yat praisha satvadi shrutihi. Translation. How did it so happens that King Parikshit met this great sage, making it possible for this great transcendental essence of the Veda, Bhagavatam, to be sung to him, purport by Srila Prabhupada, Jai Srila Prabhupada, Prabhupada Ki Jai. Srimad Bhagavatam is started here as the essence of the Veda. It is not an imaginary story and is sometimes considered by unauthoritical men. It is also called Sugasamvada, or the Vedic hymn spoken by Sri Sukadeva Goswami.
Shuka Samhita.
Or the Vedic hymn spoken by Sri Sukadeva Goswami, the great liberated sage. Hare Krishna Mataji. Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Sago dohana matram hi gruheshu gruhamedinam avekshate mahabhagas tirthi kurvas tadashramam. Sago dohana matram hi gruheshu gruhamedinam avekshate mahabhagas tirthi kurvas tadashramam. So Sukadeva Goswami, Saha means he, Sukadeva Goswami, go dahana matren. Only for the time of milking the cow. Till the time only he used to be there in the house of Grahamedhi, the householders. Now all of the grastas has been spoken, Grahamedhis, conditioned souls. One should not spend more time in the house of Grahamedhis. Otherwise, Sukadeva Goswami, just to give Sukruti to the Grahamedhis, used to go, but he used to only give that much time, only long enough for a cow to be milked in that much time. Because sadhus are very compassionate. They go to Grahamedhis, they go to Grahastas. Any of Grahastas, they have the knowledge, they are very responsible. But Grahamedhis, they are much interested in materialistic life. They always want to be in comfort zone. So these are all materialistic people, but a sadhu is a very compassionate person. Especially the Uttamadhikari Bhaktas. They don't have any distinction between conditioned soul or liberated soul. They are just equal to everyone. They just are compassionate to each and every living entity. So he used to stay in their house or he used to be in the door of their house, not even inside the house, door of their house, as long as a milk cow is milked. And he did this just to sanctify the residents. Why did he come there? Just to purify their house. Or they are all Grahamedhis, interested only in their materialistic life. Grahastas are one who knows the responsibility that they have to serve Krishna at every circumstances. Grahamedhis are ones who are into sense gratification. The topmost sense gratification is trying to seek facilities. Trying to seek facilities and give facilities to oneself. They are all Grahamedhis. Grahastas, responsible. Trying to give facilities to the Grahamedhis. So what is the facility Sukadeva Goswami is giving? The facility of sanctifying their house. That is the topmost facility, the topmost compassion. Okay. Jumu, read.
Mataji, she is with Manjari.
Mataji, my mic is working now.
Okay, read.
Okay, Hare Krishna. Very good. Dandavat Pranam. Sagodohana matram hi graheshu grahamedinam avekshate mahabhagas iti kurvastadashramam. He, Shukadev Goswami, was accustomed to stay at the door of a householder only long enough for a cow to be milked. And he did this just to sanctify the residence. Purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada Ji ki Jai. Shukadev Goswami met Emperor Parikshit and explained the text of Srimad Bhagavatam. He was not accustomed to stay at any householder's residence for more than half an hour at the time of milking the cow, and he would just take alms from the fortunate householder. That was to sanctify the residence by his auspicious presence. Therefore, Shukadev Goswami is an ideal preacher established in the transcendental position. From his activities, those who are in the renounced order of life and dedicated to the mission of preaching the message of Godhead should learn that they have no business with householders save and except to enlighten them in transcendental knowledge. Such asking for alms from the householder should be for the purpose of sanctifying his home. One who is in the renounced order of life should not be allured by the glamour of the householder's worldly possessions and thus become subservient to the worldly man. For one who is in the renounced order of life, this is much more dangerous than drinking poison and committing suicide. Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam. Thank you.
Very important aspect has been spoken. The preachers of Krishna consciousness should be very, very vigilant about all these things. Their only mission is to go and sanctify the householders who are interested much more in materialistic life. So how to bring them to Krishna consciousness? By taking some charity from them, not for their personal use, but for the missionary activity. Now Janmashtami is going to come. So why Srila Prabhupada encourages fundraising activity? This fundraising activity will purify the householders. If you don't give opportunity to a neophyte or a person who is just interested in sense gratification, then when can he get the chance to get purified and upbring himself in Krishna consciousness? Sukruti has to be given. That is why everywhere fundraising activity, especially till Janmashtami, this should be the only mode. Whoever I am seeing, I should just ask. I should ask my son, I should ask my daughter, I should ask whoever I know. Just you cannot put one barricade. No, nobody gives. You don't have the capacity to ask. You feel shy to ask. That is why no one is giving. But if you have faith in this process, very clearly it has been given. Every devotee should go to the householder and take something so that he can be purified. By giving, one purifies. And that is used in Krishna's service. If it is used for one's own sense gratification, then there is no point of collection. But if it is used for missionary activity, then one should take up this task as one's own and go ask funds, make the nearest temple where you're associated, success in celebrating the festival, to wherever temple you're associated. If you're associated with Jagannath Devasthanam, collect the funds for Jagannath Devasthanam. If you're associated with particular temple in Bombay, then collect the funds. Anyhow, everything is the mission of Krishna, mission of Srila Prabhupada. So that's more important. The funds are not much important than the intentions behind the funds. Understand it very nicely. It is not how much you have collected, how eager you are to collect. How much collection, that is immaterial. How eager you are ready to walk, how eager you are to walk every house, every known people, you are sitting and calling. That mood is more important. Just a slap, one word. Nobody gives. What is this? Again asking my own people. That means your mood is not there. Your mood is only to your own senses, your own facilities and your own senses. That is not the mood of a devotee. Mood is yena kena prakarena. If somebody gives you 1 rupee, no problem. Somebody gives you 10 rupees, no problem. Somebody gives you 100 rupees. Somebody gives you 1 lakh. How much is not important than how eager you are. Are you really eager to celebrate Janmashtami? And your Janmashtami is not for the devotees. Janmashtami festival is for the devotees to encourage the outsider to come to the temple and give him the facilities. Are you willing to take this mission? That is more eager, that is more important. So that person doesn't see his status quo. He goes house to house like a beggar. So Srila Prabhupada writes, the most humblest beggar. For himself, he writes. And what should we be called as? So we should also be a beggar in this moment. Call everyone, talk to them, collect. One can give his own check of 1 lakh. But if he collects this 1 lakh from so many people, let us see how many people he has given Sukriti. So how eager we are to contribute, how eager we are to collect the funds, how eager we are to stand on the roads, call people, invite them. It's more important. Okay, next. Abhimanyu Sutam Suta Rahur Bhagavatottamam Tasya Janma Mahascharyam Karmani Cha Grunihi Naha. Abhimanyu Sutam, the son of Abhimanyu. O Suta, Prahu, it is said that he is Bhagavatottamaha, is a first class devotee. Tasya Janma Mahascharyam, his Janma is also Adbhuta. Karmani Cha, his activities are also Adbhuta. Grunihi Naha. Please speak to us about it. We want to know about Parikshit Maharaj. Now see, so many questions are asked. It started from which verse? From the 3rd verse. So many questions are asked. Somebody can type in a simple language, simple words, the questions. How many questions were asked? By Shaunaka Rishi on behalf of other sages. Okay. Dayasagar Prabhu, read. Dayasagar Prabhu, your exams are pending. Last unit.
Hare Krishna,
Somehow
Mataji.
get it done. You have to get it done because you have to appear for Vaibhav exams. So at least after Vaibhav exams, you should finish off with, clear off with Bhakti Shastri. Isn't it? So just see, first you write this exam and then give a good time and write whatever the pending papers are there. As I was just checking your papers, yours and Anupama's are pending. Okay?
Okay.
Don't worry, easy questions will be asked for you. Right. Yeah.
Abhimanyu Sutam Suta Prahur Bhagavatotamam Tasya Janma Mahascharyam Karmani Cha Grinihi Naha. Translation. It is said that Maharaja Parikshit is a great first-class devotee of the Lord and that his birth and activities are all wonderful. Please tell us about him. Purport. The birth of Maharaja Parikshit is wonderful because in the womb of his mother, he was protected by the personality of Godhead, Shri Krishna. His activities are also wonderful because he chastised Kali, who was attempting to kill a cow. To kill cows means to end human civilization. He wanted to protect the cow from being killed by the great representative of sin. His death is also wonderful because he got previous notice of his death. which is wonderful for any mortal being, and thus he prepared himself for passing away by sitting down on the bank of the Ganges and hearing the transcendental activities of the Lord. During all the days, he heard Bhagavatam. He did not take food or drink, nor did he sleep a moment. So everything about him is wonderful, and his activities are worth hearing attentively. The desire is expressed herein to hear about him in detail. Hare Krishna.
Okay. So here Shaunaka Rishi is saying we want to hear about him. Sasamrat kasya vaheto panduna manavartanah prayopavishto gangas. Wait. Prayopavishtaha gangayam anadhrutya dhirat shriyam sasamrat kasya vaheto pandunam manavartanah prayopavishto gangayam anadhrutya dharat shriyam. So Shaunak Rishi is saying that that is the Emperor Parikshit Maharaj. Kasya, for what purpose? Was the reason. The son of Pandu. Pandu Nam is the sons of Pandu. Manavardhana is so rich, his family is so rich. Praya Upavishtaha. Why did he sit on the banks of Gangayam? And that too for fasting. And he's sitting and fasting. What is the purpose? Anadrityaha. Adhirata. He neglected his acquired kingdom, opulences. What was the purpose of he sitting on the banks of Ganga and fasting? He possessed all the richness. Why did he give up all the richness? Why did he come and sit on the banks of Ganga? So we want to know about this. And he's such a great descendant of Pandus. Okay. Bhaktani Prabhu read Surah Dikshat.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Samrat kasya vaheto panduna manavardhanaha prayo pavishto gangayam anaditya dhirat shriyam. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. He was a great emperor and possessed all the opulences of his acquired kingdom. He was so exalted that he was increasing the prestige of Pandu dynasty. Why did he give up everything to sit down on the bank of the Ganges and fast until death? Purport. Maharaj Parikshit was the emperor of the world and all the seas and oceans, and he did not have to take the trouble to acquire such a kingdom by his own effort. He inherited it from his grandfathers Maharaj Yudhishthir and brothers. Besides that, he was doing well in the administration and was worthy of the good names of his forefathers. Consequently, there was nothing undesirable in his opulence and administration. Then why should he give up all these favorable circumstances and sit down on the bank of Ganges fasting till death? This is astonishing, and therefore all were eager to know the cause. Hare Krishna Mataji.
Now, शिवायहानि वददानि शत्रवः कथं सवीरः श्रियमङ्गदुस्त्यजाम् यो वै शतोत् स्त्रष्टुम् अहो सहासुभिः नमन्ति यत्पादनिकेतमात्मनः शिवाय हानिय ददा धनानि शत्रवः कथं सवीरः श्रियमङ्गदुष्टयजाम् युवैशतो srashtum aho saha subhihi. So he was such a great emperor. Namanti yat pada niketam atmanah. Atmanah. 1 minute. Bow down, just you can hear, bow down whose feet under Atmanah own welfare. Haniya Dhanani Shatravaha. He used to, he was such a great king that the enemies, they used to come and bow down at his feet. And then Dhanani Shatravaha, they used to give all their wealth to him. See, such a great king. The enemies used to come, bow down, surrender to him and give all the wealth. So such a chivalrous king, so much of opulences. Shriyam, O Anga. So the Goswami is also addressed as Anga, O Anga. Dustya Jam, he was such a superb, insuperable Yuva, and is so young. Aishataha Utsrashtum Aho Saha Asubihi. Why did he desire to give up his life? Why did he give up everything, including his life? He possessed everything. Such a great emperor. Why did he decide to give up his everything, including his life? This is again the question asked. Jumu, read.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Namanti yat padaniketanatmanah Shivaya haniya dhanani shatravaha Katham saviraha shriyamangadustatyam Yuvaishatoshtrashtumaho saha subhihi. Translation. He was such a great emperor that all his enemies would come and bow down at his feet and surrender all their wealth for their own benefit. He was full of youth and strength, and he possessed insuperable kingly opulences. Why did he want to give up everything, including his life? Purport by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. There was nothing undesirable in his life. He was quite a young man and could enjoy life with power and opulence. So there was no question of retiring from active life. There was no difficulty in collecting the state taxes because he was so powerful and chivalrous that even his enemies would come to him and bow down at his feet and surrender all wealth for their own benefit. Maharaj Parikshit was a pious king. He conquered his enemies and therefore the kingdom was full of prosperity. There was enough milk, grains and metals, and all the rivers and mountains were full of potency. So materially everything was satisfactory. Therefore there was no question of untimely giving up his kingdom and life. The sages were eager to hear about all this.
Okay. Shivaya lokasya bhavaya bhutaye ya uttama shloka parayana janah jivanti natmarthama sauparashrayam mumocha nirvidya kutah kalevaram. Shivaya lokasya bhavaya bhutaye ya uttama shloka parayana janah jivanti natmartham asau parashrayam mumocha nirvidya kuta kalevaram. Shivaya lokasya. This preaching activity is actually for the welfare of all the living beings. Bhavaya bhuya. And also those who are devoted to the cause of personality of Godhead live only for the welfare, development and happiness of others. That has been given here. For economic development, for flourishing the living entities, Uttama Shloka Parayana, those who are devoted to the cause of the personality of God. Janaha, such men, they do not live na jivanti, atmartham, for the self-interest. Aso parashrayam. Asau parashrayam mumocha. So, nirvidyaha kutaha kalevaram. So, parashrayam means is a shelter for others. So, such great personalities who are shelter for others, why did he give up? Mumochaha nirvidyaha kutaha kalevaram. He became freed from all attachment. Why did he give up his material body? Anyhow, he was free from all attachment. He is Raja Rishi. Such Raja Rishis, they devote their life for the economic development and welfare of others and develop Krishna, people in Krishna consciousness. They do not live for their self-interest. So such Raja Rishi, who is a shelter for so many, because he's Raja also, Rishi also. That means he's giving bodily comfort also, at the same time he's giving Krishna consciousness, Rishi. He's giving all the economic development also. So who is shelter for everyone? Why did he give up his body? That is a question asked. Okay, Vaishnav Gaur Prabhu, read.
हरे कृष्ण शिवाय लोकस्य भवाय भूतेय उत्तम श्लोक परायणा जना जीवन्ति नात्मार्थमसो पराशरयम् मुमोच निर्विद्य कुतः कलेवरम्. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Those who are devoted to the cause of personality of Godhead live only for the welfare, development, and happiness of others. They do not live for any selfish interest. So even though the Emperor Parikshit was free from all attachment to worldly possessions, how could he give up his mortal body, which was a shelter for others? Purport. Parikshit Maharaj was an ideal king and householder because he was a devotee of the personality of Godhead. A devotee of the Lord automatically has all good qualifications, and the emperor was a typical example of this. Personally, he had no attachment for all the worldly opulences in his possession. But since he was a king for all around welfare of his citizen, he was always busy in the welfare work of the public, not only for this life, but also for the next. He would not allow slaughterhouses or killing of cows. He was not a foolish and partial administrator who would arrange for the protection of one living being and allow another to be killed. Because he was a devotee of the Lord, he knew perfectly well how to conduct his administration for everyone's happiness men, animals, plants, and all living creatures. He was not selfishly interested. Selfishness is either self centered or self extended. He was neither. He was neither. His interest was to please the supreme truth, the personality of Godhead. The king is the representative of the Supreme Lord, and therefore the king's interest must be identical with that of the Supreme Lord. The Supreme Lord wants all living beings to be obedient to him and thereby become happy. Therefore, the king's interest is to guide all subjects back to the kingdom of God. As the activities of the citizens should be so coordinated that they can, at the end, go back home, back to God. Under the administration of a representative king, the kingdom is full of opulence. At that time, human beings need not eat animals. There are ample food grains, milk, fruit, and vegetables so that the human beings as well as the animals can eat sumptuously and to their heart's content. If all living beings are satisfied with food and shelter and obey the prescribed rules, there cannot be any disturbance between one living being and another. Emperor Parikshit was a worthy king, and therefore all were happy during his reign. Hare Krishna.
Okay, last verse. Tatsarvam naha sama chakshva prushto yadi kinchana manye tvam vishaye vacham snatamanyatra chandasat tatsarvam naha sama chakshva. So please clearly explain prushtaha, the questions what we have asked, because you vishaye vacham snatam, you are fully acquainted to the meanings of all the words, anyatra chandaha, some portions of the Vedas. The Purport Prabhupada writes, Brahmins are expert in the Vedas, but devotees or Parivrajkacharyas, they are very much expert in the Puranas, Bhagavad Purana. One who is expert in Bhagavad Purana, devotee, need not be much expert in chanting the Vedic mantras. The Brahmanas are trained. When we are talking about the Brahmanas, we are not just talking about the Brahmanas by caste. We are talking about the Brahmanas by caste who has taken up the study of the Vedas. There are so many caste Brahmanas. They don't know to pronounce anything. The Brahmanas who have taken up the ritualistic processes. A Brahmana who's performing the rituals. They're expert in chanting the Vedic mantras. But Puranas, Bhagavad Purana, Parivrajakacharyas, that means devotees. They may not be very expert in Vedas. So here, you are very Any of Suta is not Brahmin by birth. So he cannot perform rituals. Shaunakadi Rishi, they are all performing the rituals. That means they are Brahmins. So understand it very nicely. Suta is actually a caste, a weaver's caste. If you see Suta, then Suta is actually Shudra. But Shaunakadi Rishis are Brahmanas. But they were involved in the ritualistic processes for 1,000 years. They're performing sacrifices. And they know very well that these Vedic mantras are for ritualistic ceremonies, sacrifices. But Suta Goswami's position is, he is Parivrajakaacharya. He is a topmost self-realized soul. It's not necessary that he should know some portions of the Chandas. So you know the meaning of the subject. Vedesha sarve rahame vivedya. You know the purpose of the Vedas. You know the essence of the Vedas. So that is why you are expert. You explain to us. So sometimes we think, oh, our system was casteism, our system was very orthodox. No. If you see who is listening from whom, Brahmanas are eager to listen from Suta. So our system is not any orthodox. This was all introduced by Britishers just to have a divide and rule tendency. Our system is a very broader concept. Our Vedic system is a broader concept. Brahmanas respect the devotees, even though they may come from any caste. Now, Alvars, 5,000 years ago, before they appeared, now Alvars, some few Alvars were not caste Brahmanas, but they are counted as Alvars. So that is more important. Like there was an Alvar whose name was Turpan Alvar. He used to stand on the outskirts of Kaveri and sing because he comes from a musician family. Generally artisans and all, they come in the Shudra category. So he thought, if I step Kaveri or if I step the Srirang, if I step Kaveri, then the whole thing will be destroyed. Like this, my impurity will be there. The whole thing will be impure there because I have stepped. I am a Shudra. So he was taking much care of not stepping the Kaveri. But once it so happened, Brahmana came there to fill the water. And by mistake, this Tirupan Alvar, he came near Kaveri. And this Brahmana was so angry, he spat at this person, that you Shudra, why did you come here? You have impurified the whole place. So then this Brahmana takes the water and goes to Srirangam temple. The temple is closed. He is thinking, what happened? The Lord says, he hears a voice. You bring that person first. He's a great devotee. You bring him. Anyhow, Tirupan Alvar had taken a vow that he will never cross Srirangam. He will never cross Kaveri. He will not enter Srirangam. So then this priest was thinking, how am I going to take him? He has taken a vow. He lifts Tirupan Alvar and brings him to the temple. So his vow is also kept. He will not step, but he lifts. Now, who is lifting whom? A caste Brahmana is lifting a great devotee who comes from the Shudra family. So, is our Vedic culture orthodox? No. Our Vedic culture is a broader concept. Even today, there are spiritual masters who are giving initiation, Brahmin initiation, though they are not caste Brahmanas. The giving or not. So our culture is, we don't recognize a devotee by caste. We recognize the devotee by his devotion, by his self-realization. Okay. Hans Rupi Prabhu, read.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Tat sarvana samakshava prishto yadi kinchana mande tam vishaye vancha snatam mandat chandasa. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada, Prabhupada ki jai. We know that you are expert in the meaning of all subjects except some portion of the Vedas, and thus you can clearly explain the answers to all the questions we have just put to you. Purport. The difference between the Vedas and the Puranas is like that between the Brahmanas and Parivarchakas. The Brahmanas are meant to administer some fruitive sacrifices mentioned in the Vedas, but the Parivarkacharyas or learned preachers are meant to disseminate transcendental knowledge to one and all. As such, the Parivarkacharyas are not always expert in pronouncing the Vedic mantras, which are practiced systematically by accent and meter by Brahmanas, who are meant for the administering Vedic rites. Yet it should not be considered that the Brahmanas are more important than the itinerant preachers. They are one and different simultaneously because they are meant for the same end in different ways. There is no difference between the Vedic mantras and what is explained in the Puranas Itihasa. According to Srila Jeev Goswami, it is mentioned in the Madhyandadina Smriti that all the Vedas, namely Sam, Athar, Rig, Yajur, Puranas, Itihasas, Upanishads, etc., are emanations from the reading of the Supreme Being. The only difference is that the Vedic mantras are mostly begun with Purana Omkara, and it requires some training to practice the metric pronunciation of the Vedic mantras. But that does not mean the Srimad Bhagavatam is of less importance than the Vedic mantras. On the contrary, it is ripened fruit of all the Vedas, as stated before. Besides that, the most perfectly liberated soul, Srila Dev Goswami, is absorbed in the studies of Bhagavatam. Although he is already self-realized, Sutta Goswami is following the footsteps, and therefore his position is not the less important because he was not expert in chanting Vedic mantras with the metric pronunciation, which depends more on practice than actual realization. Realization is more important than parrot-like chanting. Hare Krishna.
So here we'll stop. Any questions based on this, you can ask. But tomorrow also we'll be having class. And then Thursday, next Thursday will be the class. Tuesday will be holiday for you. You can prepare for your exam. So we'll try to complete this chapter next Thursday. Okay, any questions? No questions. Okay, Nainu Manjari. Chant. Chant, chant.
Hare Krishna. Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narotam saraswati vyasam tato jayamudire Prayeshu bhadreshu nityam bhava sevaya bhavata uttama shloka Prabhavati nestiki Krishna punyam shampi shanti sena
Astoya Bhadrani
Vidunoti
Rakshata.
Very good.
Manchakalpatarubhyascha pass.
Sindhu Bhimach. Patitanam Pavanete Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah.
Anantapurti Vaishnava Vrinda ki
Jai Shri Prabhupada ki jai.
jai.
Thank you very much, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
कॉल करना पार्टी को